Kent Hovind decided to come out on Brett Keane's channel and make a response to us. And unfortunately, Kent Hovind made two big mistakes here when he went onto Brett Keane's channel and attempted to respond to my expose and our 11-hour live stream. First mistake, he went onto Brett Keane's channel to attempt to defend himself. And the reason why that was a mistake is because mistake number two, Kent Hovind unintentionally admitted that Chris Jones committed a Class C felony when he visited DAL with Zaire a couple years ago. And no, that is not clickbait. That's not a sensational headline that I'm just making up. You're going to see later in this video that according to Alabama law, Chris Jones committed a Class C felony when he slept under the same roof as Zaire during an overnight visit to DAL.
So let's see. So Chris, and he brought a young boy, a 13-year-old young black boy from his area up there where he's from, who is being raised without a father. And Chris took him in under his wing to kind of be dad to him. Chris is not a pedophile. He's on a registry, but he shouldn't be, okay? But he's not a pedophile. There's nothing dangerous about Chris Jones, okay? I've known him for 30 years. Anyway, he brought that boy with his mother's permission down here to visit DAL. They had a wonderful time. Then he wanted to stay the night at the house that Cindy owns. When she gave the program the other night, she was real deceitful about that. She said, yeah, it's a house near there that DAL controls. Cindy, you're lying through your teeth. That's a house that you own that was just bought. It was empty. So Paul Hansen and Chris and this boy Zaire went over to stay over there. Well, there's only one mattress on the floor. The boy was sleeping on a couch, but he got scared. He came in and said, Chris, can I stay with you? And Chris said, let's call your mother. So he called the mother right away and said, look, Zaire's scared. What should I do? She said, well, that's fine. He can stay in the same. It's a queen-size bed on the floor, both fully dressed, stayed on the bed. Paul came in the next morning and said, Chris, it doesn't really look good. He said, look, what do I do? The kid asked if he could stay with me. He was scared. I didn't do anything.
So, as we could see in that clip of the interview, Kent Hovind admits that Chris Jones is a registered sex offender who brought a 13-year-old boy to DAL on one of his visits, a boy who Kent admits is not a blood relative of Chris Jones's. He's some kid that Chris Jones lives near, and he decided to take him under his wing and be a father figure to him. Kent then admits that not only did Chris Jones and Zaire sleep under the same roof for a night, but they actually slept on the same mattress and were found that way in the morning by Paul Hansen. Furthermore, by Kent Hovind's own admission, Chris Jones committed a Class C felony according to Alabama law when he slept overnight in the same house as Zaire when they visited DAL together. How do I know this? Well, let's go ahead and turn to Alabama law, which you can see right here on the screen. It is Alabama Code 15-20A-11, and this is regarding adult sex offenders and prohibited residence locations, etc. When you skip down to Section D of this law, it says, no adult sex offender shall reside or conduct an overnight visit with a minor. Notwithstanding the foregoing, an adult sex offender may reside with a minor if the adult sex offender is the parent, grandparent, step-parent, sibling, or step-sibling of the minor, unless one of the following conditions applies. And then you see all the following conditions. So according to Alabama law, an adult sex offender is not allowed to have an overnight visit with a minor in any capacity unless they are a parent, grandparent, step-parent, sibling, or step-sibling of the minor. But Kent Hovind already admitted that Zaire is not a blood relative to Chris Jones in any way, so this exception doesn't apply. Furthermore, when you go down to Section I, it says, any person who knowingly violates this section shall be guilty of a Class C felony. Now, what makes this situation potentially a whole lot worse for Kent Hovind is that he actually could be charged with criminal conspiracy in regards to Chris Jones committing this Class C felony. When you go to Alabama Code 13A-4-3, you find yourself in the criminal conspiracy generally section of the Alabama law. It says, a person is guilty of criminal conspiracy if, with the intent that conduct constituting an offense be performed, he agrees with one or more persons to engage in or cause the performance of such conduct, and any one or more of such persons does an overt act to effect any objective of the agreement. If a person knows or should know that one with whom he agrees has in turn agreed or will agree with another to effect the same criminal objective, he shall be deemed to have agreed with such other person, whether or not he knows the other's identity. A person is not liable under this section if, under circumstances manifesting a voluntary, complete renunciation of his criminal purpose, he gave a timely and adequate warning to law enforcement authorities or made a substantial effort to prevent the enforcement of the criminal conduct contemplated by the conspiracy. Renunciation by one conspirator, however, does not affect the liability of another conspirator who does not join in the abandonment of the conspiratorial objective. The burden of injecting the issue of renunciation is on the defendant, but this does not shift the burden of proof. And then we will skip down to Section G and number 4 in Section G, which says criminal conspiracy is a Class A misdemeanor if an object of the conspiracy is a Class C felony. So in relations to the Chris Jones committing a Class C felony when he was at DAL of Zaire, how does this apply to Kent Hovind? Well, Kent Hovind could have stopped that entire Class C felony from happening. He knows that Chris Jones is a registered sex offender. He admitted so already. And he didn't have to allow Chris Jones to come to the DAL campus in the first place. And when Chris Jones showed up with Zaire in tow, Kent Hovind could have cast Chris Jones off and said, don't come back until Zaire's gone. He also could have had Chris Jones stay in the unfurnished house off of DAL campus and then have Zaire stay with a trusted family in a cabin on the other side of DAL as far away from Chris Jones as possible during the night. Kent Hovind could have done all of those things, which would have prevented this Class C felony from happening, but not only did Kent Hovind not do these things, he turned right around and for the last couple of years has been saying that Chris Jones did absolutely nothing wrong, even though, according to Kent Hovind's own admission, Chris Jones committed a Class C felony by sleeping in the same house as Zaire for an overnight visit to DAL. So technically, Chris Jones is guilty of committing a Class C felony, and Kent Hovind, since he not only did nothing about it, but attempted to claim that Chris Jones didn't commit a Class C felony ever since, Kent Hovind could be charged as a criminal conspirator of Chris Jones. He could literally be charged with a Class A misdemeanor because he not only did nothing to stop Chris Jones from committing the felony when he could have stopped Chris Jones from doing it, but he's attempting to claim that Chris Jones did nothing wrong when he committed this Class C felony.
The story is not, the people who are reporting the story do not know the facts, and the people who think that I am somehow wrong for defending a child molester do not know the fact. He is not a child molester, never has been. He's a great Christian friend of mine.
Zaire just told me that Chris touched him with a paper towel.
With a paper towel?
With a paper towel. So luckily he wasn't touched.
What, like on
physically?
On his private?
Yeah, on his penis. Yes, on his genital.
Oh my goodness.
My son knows he can talk to me and my boyfriend. Cause we're not married or whatever. But he came home and he was telling me about the trip.
Yeah.
That from Dinosaur Land. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And this some months ago, you know. But he told me how much of a great time he did have. And he was telling me this, that, and the third. And then when he got back, he stayed at Chris' mom's house with Chris. And, you know, he's so excited about this whole trip that he telling me everything.
Yeah.
So when he went to say, well, Chris touched me with a paper towel on, and I was like, what you mean? With a paper towel? Well, he touched me with the paper towel. I said, touched you well. He said, down there. So I feel like when my son came and told me, I don't really think, honestly, when this situation happened with my son, I don't think that Chris was thinking that Zaire was gonna say anything.
Of course
Because
not.
how do you just say, how does a child just say, well, yeah, I was touched with a paper towel.
Yeah,
But Zaire comes home, he tells me everything.
that's
And I'm
good.
so grateful that we have that bond.
Right. It's
Because if he wasn't telling me about the trip to where it ended, I wouldn't have learned it.
right.
I would have never learned it. He could have just told me about the trip and just stopped.
Yeah.
And then he could be messed up for life right now. Because if he would have never said anything, then it would have started off paper towel. Then
Mhm.
it would have started off with a hand. And
Mhm.
it would have went on further.
I don't
And
even want to know
then
where it could go. Just I don't want to
exactly,
think about it.
I don't need to know that part, especially about my boy. No.
Yeah.
Hey, Zayo, Zay, let me ask you a very personal question. Put that on mute. Nobody else need to hear anything I'm finna ask. Um, when Chris touched you with the paper towel, what was the reason that he done it? I need this. Was it that you were probably finna black out, or um, you need to tell me directly if you remember this particular time of day or night. What was the reason he touched you with the paper towel?
I really don't know that.
All right.
I don't know the reason.
Did he touch you on your genital, meaning penis, with the paper towel? He did. And you don't know why. And you wasn't passing out. Where were you at this time?
It was the wrong place to do it, but you know, like,
Hold on. You got to speak clearly right now.
you know, like when you walk in, like the front way it's on Boost Mobile.
Okay.
Yeah, it was right there. Like
Was your clothes on or were they off?
there was, but the oh, I see what you mean. So he how about I say? Oh,
Just speak on exactly what happened that day when he touched you with the paper towel. You said your clothes were on.
yeah, I see what you mean. But no, he had pulled him down.
He pulled what down?
My pants and my underwear down a little bit
Did he say why touching you? All right, yeah, we'll go through with this. I sure will. Because you shouldn't have pulled my, and you heard this from my child.
Mhm. All right.
You heard,
Yep.
and there's no explanation to why you pulling my son's pants down, walking into Boost Mobile and pulling his drawers or underwear. There is no explanation to that. No. And you just heard me, like, I'm not quoting my son nothing. I'm not.
Did anything happen while he was at Dino Land?
Did anything happen while you were at Donald Land? And do you understand? I am on the phone with Mark. Do not lie. And definitely,
it's not at Dino Land. It's somewhere else, but like I don't know if he did anything. I just woke up feeling weird.
Woke up
did you
feeling weird.
did you hear my son?
Mhm.
All right. So yeah, I will go through. I will be going through with whatever the authorities need.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
it needs to happen cuz that ain't right. That ain't right at all.
He was trying so hard to defend his buddy Chris Jones that he claimed that Chris Jones was framed for doing some kind of Bohemian Grove thing, but that wasn't true. Years before the Bohemian Grove Alex Jones bullshit, that man had accumulated over 8 counts of child molestation, different events altogether, different kids, different parents, different families, different scenarios. According to Mark Stoney and according to Adam, the boy did get fondled by Chris Jones. Zaire did get molested. And I can't, in good consciousness, to sit back and go, yeah, I respect Kent Hovind, I admire Kent Hovind, so I'm going to just let that shit pass. I can't. There was a child that was hurt, and Kent Hovind cared more about the reputation of his poor little child molester friend than he cared about that kid.
Hey, brother, Kent Hovind here. I just got a call from Steve Bolin claiming that Zaire is pressing charges against Chris. This whole drama is never going to quit, brother. Just completely ignore them. They don't get it. Bunch of morons.
Mark Stoney put together a GoFundMe for Zaire. Support Zaire's hopes and dreams. As long as you can try, you can do it. Now, if you go down the page, you're going to hear the story about this. And also, if you go check out Mark Stoney's YouTube channel, I'll put his link in the comments along with the GoFundMe if anyone feels like they want to support Zaire. Here is the story. My name is Mark Stoney. I'm organizing this fundraiser for the family of this young man who was groomed for years by a Christopher Link Jones. At age 11, Jones traveled with Zaire across state lines to stay overnight for 5 days in an empty house provided by Kent Hovind, an infamous sovereign citizen tax evader and convicted felon who promotes, enables, and defends multiple degenerate associates of his. Zaire is now 14 years old and hopes to go to college, play sports, and one day become a rapper. He already has so much talent and potential for a promising future ahead of him, but has limited access to monetary support. All too often, vulnerable people are targeted by predators like Chris and Kent's associates. And that was the case for Zaire and his family. The trauma he has been through has had a tremendous effect on Zaire and his family, which, by the way, is the sweetest family you could ever meet. I am intimately connected to their story, and I'm hoping to show them that people do care about their struggles and want to support this cause. Please consider donating to this campaign to give this brave young man a leg up on life, which has not been too kind to him thus far. Thank you for your time and consideration, and have a blessed day. Bonus, this kid has potential. And he's got a link there on the side. All you got to do, folks, is you come over here, you click on donate. You can also share the page with other people. Even if you don't think that you could do something, you could at least share with people that you think have the finances or the ability to be able to support. And there you go. You got people who are supporting and they're trying to help. But this is to try to get this young man through college as well as help him be able to jump off his career, do something with his life. So anything that you could do would be greatly appreciated. This is Zaire right here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to be able to find out what's going on with Zaire's life, and you would like to know more about the story of Kent Hovind and this Chris Jones ordeal, you can go over to Mark Stoney. Make sure you subscribe to him, comment, and rate. And also Adam Lohr. He is also very deeply involved in all this. You could subscribe to his channel, Adam Lohr or Mr. Lohr, and they will keep you filled in on this. If we find out any more in the future about any other children or any things, then this channel will open up to doing live shows about more cases if cases end up coming out. Usually whenever it comes to stuff like this where people are abusing children or molesting people, whenever you end up pointing this out and putting light on the scenario or whatever the event is that's happening, sooner or later, more people will come out of the woodwork. More people will say if they've been hurt or not. As many of you know, Chris Jones has over 8 counts of child pedophilia, assault sexually on children. And for whatever reason, Kent Hovind decided to support a person like this. Kent Hovind could have been a great minister for God and actually helped out those who are victims of abuse. But no one knows. Why did he choose to go for those who are abusive as opposed to those who are abused? God knows. Only God knows. God bless.